From the burning ruins of Stormwind, the last conjurers fled north, carrying nothing but the ashes of their towers and the memory of water elementals torn apart by felfire. In the halls of the Violet Citadel, a new order rose. No longer scholars of conjuration, but battle mages forged in desperation, willing to break body and soul to wield powers their predecessors never dared. This is the second chapter of the mage's story. The second war that turned libraries into war rooms, the frozen skies of Northrend where Dalaran defied a mad aspect, the Hall of the Guardian reborn against the Burning Legion, and the final, shatter and fall of the floating city of Khaz Algar. Welcome to Part 2, Mages at War. From the Horde's invasion to the Kirin Tor's humble rebirth, the weave has never burned brighter or broken harder. Warcraft 2. Prior to the First War, around year 0 to 6 after the Dark Portal, the Kingdom of Stormwind, then known simply as Azeroth, was home to the secretive Conjurers of Azeroth, an order of mages who operated from isolated mystic towers and served as royal advisors. These hedge wizards, as derisively called by their more refined northern counterparts in Dalaran, specialized in conjuration magic, summoning elementals such as water elementals, chosen for their loyalty in opposition to the orcs' fire affinity, creating objects, and scrying. Notable figures include Neelis Aran, father of the corrupted guardian Medivh, and an archmage of the Kirin Tor, and the powerful conjure lords Hugarin and Huglar. Though individually potent, the conjurers were few in number, lacked battlefield coordination, and focused on utility rather than destruction. Stormwind maintained its own magical academy, but it paled beside Dalaran's Violet Citadel. When Medivh, who was secretly possessed by Sargeras, opened the Dark Portal in Year 0, unleashing the old horde, the conjurers rallied to defend their kingdom. They unleashed summons and pleas for aid to Dalaran, but the Kirin Tor dismissed the orcs as a local nuisance. Overwhelmed by Gul'dan's warlock legions, who wielded fell magic in unison, the conjurers were decimated. Stormwind fell in Year 6, its mages slain or scattered, their order effectively annihilated. The survivors, students and refugees, fled north to the Kingdom of Lordaeron, integrating into Dalaran's magocracy under the Kirin Tor, an ancient council founded over 2,800 years earlier to catalog magic and safeguard Azeroth from threats like the Burning Legion. This new order of mages transformed arcane study into weaponized discipline, delving into untapped magical forces like evocation, destructive blasts, and transmutation. Their routine was brutal, not just intellectual mastery, but grueling physical and spiritual trials to endure war's chaos. No longer mere summoners, they commanded aggressive magic, fire, frost, and temporal manipulations. Led by figures like Archmage Antonidas, the Kirin Tor leader during the Second War, around 6 to 28 years after the Dark Portal opened, these mages pledged their loyalty to the Alliance of Lordaeron at the Council of Seven Nations, turning the tide against the Horde. The mages' Violet Citadel in Dalaran served as their unbreakable sanctum, a towering spire of lapis lazuli slate housing the Kirin Tor's Council of Six Chambers, arcane vaults for artifacts, vast libraries, and the Eye of Dalaran, a scrying orb later stolen by the orcs. All protected by ley lines and spells, it symbolized their resolve. From this hub, mages deployed to Lordaeron's battlefields, the northern human kingdom's war zones during the Second War. They scorched horde advances, polymorphed ogres, and blizzarded peon laborers, proven indispensable in victories like the Second Siege of Lordaeron. This reformation ensured humanity's arcane forces endured beyond the Second War, such as funded Netherguard Keep, and into cataclysms like the Scourge Invasion, where Dalaran itself fell, but the mage's spirit persisted under leaders like Ronan, Jaina Proudmoore, and Khadgar. Their dedication to defend the people evolved the Kirin Tor from aloof scholars to Azeroth's arcane shield-bearers. Prior to the cataclysmic events that reshaped the continent, the arcane practitioners among humanity were sharply divided along regional lines, reflecting deep-seated cultural, political, and magical differences between the southern kingdom of Stormwind and the northern kingdom centered around Lordaeron. This schism painted a portrait of mages as both revered and isolated figures, integral to royal power in the south, yet distant and authoritative overlords in the north. In the sunny climate of Stormwind, magic was the domain of the Conjurers of Azeroth, a clandestine order of spellweavers who dwelled in towering mystic spires scattered across the kingdom. These mages specialized in the art of conjuration, summoning local water elementals to combat foes, forging objects from thin air, and bending natural forces to their will. Far from rogue dabblers, they formed a structured sect with their own magical academy, training apprentices in disciplined rituals. The Conjurers enjoyed a privileged bond with the Stormwind Crown. King Lane Rin I elevated them to a position of influence, appointing a court conjurer, such as the renowned Neelis Aran, as a direct advisor to the royal household. Powerful conjure lords like Hugarin and Huglar wielded immense personal might, serving as the kingdom's foremost arcane defenders. Their secretive nature suited the court's needs. They operated in shadows, firing threats and unleashing summons only when direct peril loomed, embodying a harmonious integration of magic into monarchical rule. To the scholarly mages of Dalaran, these southern conjurers were dismissed as hedge wizards, a derogatory slur for self-taught or independently trained arcanists who flouted the Kirin Tor's rigid doctrines. Lacking formal apprenticeship in the Violet Citadel's hallowed halls, Stormwind's mages were seen as reckless showmen, prone to forbidden experiments that invited doom. This prerogative underscored a profound rift. Dalaran's Kirin Tor viewed themselves as the unchallenged arbiters of human magic. Jealousy guarded their sovereignty over all practitioners north of Red Ridge Mountains. Yet, bridges existed. Despite the separation, elite conjurers like Neelis Aran held special titles such as the Archmage of the Kirin Tor, while Hugarin and Huglar sat on the ultra-secretive Council of Tirisgarde, a covert assembly of mages from across Azeroth, including high elves and gnomes, tasked with empowering a single guardian against demonic incursions. This council's hidden missives and encoded rituals linked southern talents to the northern fold, proving that raw power could transcend prejudice. In the north, the Kirin Tor reigned supreme from Dalaran's Violet Citadel, a magocratic enclave where the Council of Six Archmages dictated the arcane laws for all human kingdoms. Most mages of Lordaeron, Quel'Thuzad's allies, and beyond deferred to this authority, sending promising pupils to Dalaran for sanction and training. The Kirin Tor cataloged spells, regulated forbidden arts like necromancy, and maintained an iron grip on magical proliferation, expelling threats like kel'thuzad for their transgressions. Dalaran itself was a sovereign kingdom, aloof from the squabbles of crowns, prioritizing arcane purity over political entanglements. Its wizards delved into frost and evocation, forging defensive domes and scrying orbs, but shunned the fray of the courtly intrigue. This independence bred mutual suspicion. Monarchies of Lordaeron, Stormguard, Tyrus, and others harbored no mage advisors in their thrones, viewing Kirin Tor wizards as enigmatic meddlers whose politics threatened sovereignty. During a turbulent Alterac crisis, where betrayal shattered alliance unity, no Dalaran spellweaver shielded the beleaguered kings. The Kirin Tor's absence spoke volumes of their detachment, intervening only when arcane crises like Orc Fel magic demanded it. The Kirin Tor pledged to the promising alliance reluctantly, funding bulwarks like Netherguard Keep, but never fully giving up their autonomy. This dynamic preserved their neutrality, until the wars forged uneasy bonds. In the fragile peace following the Horde's defeat, a clandestine act of espionage and barter underscored fractures within humanity's arcane order. An unnamed mage from the fallen kingdom of Alterac pilfered the legendary Book of Medivh from Stormwind's vaults and bartered it to Orcish shaman Ner'zhul, prioritizing homeland salvation over fealty to Dalaran's Violet Citadel. This betrayal not only fueled the Horde's desperate bid for interdimensional conquest, but illuminated how regional loyalties could eclipse the Kirin Tor's vaunted authority. Crafted by Medivh, the last guardian of Tirisgarde, this singular spellbook encapsulated arcane mastery beyond mortal knowledge. Incantations for rend-in dimensional veils, prophecies of cosmic doom, and rituals potent enough to shatter worlds. Posthumously recovered after Medivh's slaying, it was enshrined in Stormwind's royal library, the kingdom's rebuilt heart, as a trophy of victory and a safeguard against renewed portal threats. The book's power proved irresistible. Ner'zhul, clan chieftain of Draenor's shattered remnants, coveted it alongside the jeweled scepter of Sargeras and the Eye of Dalaran to forge unstable gateways during a rare celestial alignment, portals that would ultimately render his homeworld asunder. Alterac's sovereign king, Aiden Perinold, had infamously conspired with the Horde during the war, granting them passage through his mountains in exchange for hallowed promises. Exposed by General Turlan, Perinold faced deposition. Lordaeron imposed martial law, seizing treasure for alliance reparation, while Stromgarde, under vengeful Thoras Trollbane, annexed eastern territories. Perinold languished under house arrest, his realm a patchwork of occupation camps and simmering resentment. Survivors eyed any edge for resurgence. The book represented leverage, a mythic bargaining chip to expel occupiers and restore Perinold's line. Amid reconstruction, Orcish Death Knights, led by Terran Gorefiend and Paragath Throatsplitter, raided Stormwind, seeking the tome. Unbeknownst, Perinold's spies struck simultaneously. A blade felled the library's guardian, and Alterac agents spirited the book northward. Horde raiders uncovered scrolls implicating Alterac and withdrew, preserving their forces for the true prize. Safeguarded in Alterac's mountains by an unnamed mage, guarding it as both the protector and merchant, the book became currency in a pact with Doom. Gorefiend, backed by Deathwing, struck a deal. Orcish forces would raise Lordaeron and Stromgarde outposts, plaguing Altrac's borders. In return, the mage surrendered the Grimoire, escorting it to safety under Horde protection. Deathwing unleashed a cataclysmic fury, pulverizing barracks and fleets, granting Alterac fleet and respite. The book fueled Ner'zhul's portals, invading Azeroth anew. Yet the mage's identity remains shrouded, a ghost in chronicles, embodied loyalty to the crown over Kirin Tor creed. This deed pierced the myth of arcane universally. While Dalaran's mages pledged a collective defense, the Alterac operative, probably a rogue, unbound by Violet Citadel oaths, chose national survival. Northern kingdoms wary of Kirin Tor politics fostered such independent thoughts as well, with mages serving to the throne secretly, unaffected by council edicts. The saga endures in Azeroth's records. The book's theft precipitated the invasion of Draenor, was reclaimed by Khadgar to seal the Dark Portal, and later enabled kel'thuzad's legion to cause a rift, its maledictions rippling through the Third War. Alterac crumbled into syndicate anarchy, its mages' nationalism, a cautionary fracture in humanity's arcane bulwark. Wrath of the Lich King. For 10,000 years, Malygos, the Spellweaver, aspect of the Blue Dragonflight, had been little more than a broken husk, his mind shattered by Deathwing's betrayal and the slaughter of his kin during the War of the Ancients. He hid in the frozen heart of Northrend, lost in madness, while the world moved on without its guardian of magic. Then, in the years following the Third War, something changed. Nether-twisted energies drifting from Outland seeped into the Nexus and slowly stitched the aspect's fractured mind back together. When Malygos finally opened his eyes, he saw the ley lines of Azeroth glowing like open wounds. Mortals, especially the Magi of Dalaran, were drawn power with reckless abandon. Blood elves siphoning fell energy, warlocks bargaining with demons, Kirin Tor scholars treating the arcane like an infinite well. To the newly sane aspect, this was not progress. It was suicide. The world soul itself was bleeding. Malygos declared war. He rerouted every ley line on the planet towards the Nexus in Caldara. Giant arcane surge needles stabbed the earth from the shores of the Borean tundra to the ruins of old Zinajari. Spells began to fizzle across continents. Mages woke up to find their mana pools half empty. Reality itself started to crack. In a single proclamation broadcast across the magical spectrum, the Lord of Magic condemned the Kirin Tor as the worst offenders and sentenced all unauthorized spellcasters to death or imprisonment. Blue dragons and their new mortal enforcers, the Mage Hunters, descended on villages, academies, and lone hedge wizards. Captives were dragged to Barrel Point, a bleak prison outpost ringed by floating arcane cages that suppressed will and power alike. Some were never seen again. Dalaran's answer was an audacious one, as it was desperate. Under Ronan's leadership, the entire city ripped itself free of the Eastern Kingdoms, inverted its gravity runes, and soared across the sea to hover above Crystal Song Forest, close enough to strike the Nexus, but far enough to shield Northrend's mortals from the Lich King at the same time. The floating city became the spearhead of resistance. Ronan forged a Wormcrest Accord. Red, green, and bronze dragonflights united with the Kirin Tor and mortal champions of both Horde and Alliance. Alexstrasza herself blessed the assault, gifting heroes the focus and iris taken from the bones of Sapphiron. Malygos, the only blue dragon who still believed in coexistence, defected and guided the Accord through the Nexus's defenses. The war was fought on every scale. Frost mages froze dragon wings mid-dive. Fire mages turned Drake Breath back on its owners with mirrored barriers. Arcane specialists severed surge needles and redirected their own ley lines into devastating barrages. In the skies above Caldara, blizzards met arcane storms and explosions visible from Icecrown. The final battle took place in the Eye of Eternity, a pocket dimension suspended inside the Nexus itself. Malygos, swollen with stolen power, unleashed vortexes of raw magic and beams that unraveled matter. Only the combined fury of the Accord, Red Dragon Fire, Kirin Tor spell volleys, and mortal heroes riding discs of pure arcane energy brought the Spellweaver down. When Malygos fell, the heart of magic burst from his chest and the ley lines snapped back into balance with a shockwave felt across the world. Magic had been saved, but at a terrible cost. The Guardian aspect was dead, the blue dragon flight was shattered, and for the first time in history, mortal mages, not dragons, held the future of arcane power in their trembling, mana-stained hands. The Nexus War was over, but the question still echoes through the Violet Citadel. If even the aspect of magic could lose his way, who will guard the Guardians when the next crisis comes? Legion. As the third invasion of the Burning Legion scorched the broken shore and Gul'dan's Fell Portal yawned open above the Tomb of Sargeras, Azeroth's mages faced the most serious hour since the War of the Ancients. Dalaran, freshly teleported from Deadwind Pass by the Kirin Tor under Archmage Khadgar's command, hovered defiantly over the Broken Isles, a neutral bastion amid demonic swarms, its Violet Citadel pulsing with arcane wards against infernal assaults. Yet even as Khadgar rallied the Council of Six for horde readmission, sparking Jaina Proudmoore's bitter resignation, the true vanguard stirred in the city's shadowed heights, the Hall of the Guardian, long dormant sanctum of the Council of Tirisfal. It began with a desperate plea echoing through Dalaran's ether. Merrill Fellstorm, once Merrill Winterstorm, founded mage of the original Council of Tirisfal, his undead form scarred by millennia of vigilance, summoned a worthy champion to the Violet Gate. For years, the dreadlord Cathrinatir had festered within him, a Natharzim infiltrator privy to the Council's deepest secrets. The Guardian's Mantle, the Forge of the Guardian, and arcane rights to empower singular defenders against the Legion. Cathrinatir had broken free during the invasion's chaos, fleeing to the Violet Hold to siphon the Forge, a Titan-forged relic devised from the first Guardian, Aludi, to channel Council power into one vessel. Together, Merrill and the heroes stormed the Hold, channeling the Forge's energies to shatter the demon, though Cathrinatir escaped to the Twisted Nether, bound to return with Legion reinforcements. With Aludi's spectral guidance, they teleported the Forge to the Hall of Guardian, a rune-warded chamber atop the Violet Citadel, choked in dust as it was unused since Medivh's era. Cobweb-shrouded forgotten tomes in the Guardian's library. Apprentice dummies gathered frost. Here, amid despair, Merrill proclaimed rebirth. In times past, the Council called upon Tirisgarde, the elite mage guard of Dalaran, to battle the Guardian's absence. It must be rebuilt now. The Tirisgarde, forged long ago to hunt rogue Guardian Agewind, drew strength not from singular empowerment, but legendary artifacts, relics cataloged in the Hall's Appendix of Azerothian Artifacts. The hero, dubbed Conjurer of Tirisgarde in a ceremony before assembled luminaries, ventured forth. Empowered at the Forge, now a font of artifact ascension, the Conjurer recruited champions. Goblin Portal Master, the great Akazam Zarak, summoned mages worldwide. Malygos, the Blue Dragon aspect, Madera, Kirin Tor veteran, Aeth the Sunreaver, a Blood Elf Magus, and Azara Verendi, Magister's Fireblade, swelled their ranks, from the Kirin Tor, Silvermoon, and beyond. Merrill's rallying cry thundered, Mages of Azeroth, the Dreadlord carries our secrets into the Nether. I hereby reform the Tirisgarde. Join us against the Legion. Cheers erupted as portals flared, filling the hall with apprentices, water elementals, and arcane destroyers. From this reborn nexus, Tirisgarde mages repelled Legion assaults on Dalaran, hunted Cathrinatir across the Isles, sealing him in a Nightborn Soulstone from the city's spire defenses, and joined Khadgar's armies of Legionfall. They pierced Surmar's timelock with Elisand, empowered Vindicar's rifts to Argus, and dueled Gul'dan amid tomb fellstorms. As the fighting went on, the hall evolved. Libraries bloomed with lore tomes, war rooms buzzed with scouting maps, and balconies overlooked demon-choked skies. Yet victory bore scars. Artifacts spent their fury siphoning Sargeras' blade. The Tirisgarde endured as Dalaran's arcane sentinel, double-edged legacy of guardian ghosts and mortal frailty. Creativity's blaze against eternal voids. The War Within. In a desperate bid to thwart Xal'atath's scheming deep within the subterranean realm of Khaz Algar, the Council of Six, led by Archmage Khadgar, performed one final, audacious teleportation of Dalaran. The floating city, already scarred from relocations to Northrend skies, the Broken Isles, and beyond, tore through reality's veil to materialize above the Isle of Dorn, its spires gleaming as a beacon of arcane might against the encroaching void. But victory was an illusion. Xal'atath, the harbinger of the void, had infiltrated their ranks months earlier, masquerading as a long-lost archmage Drendon, a second and third war veteran whose sudden return had blinded the Kirin Tor to the peril. Under her subtle manipulations, wards were strengthened by being subtly dismantled, leaving the city vulnerable as Nerubian swarms from Azj-Kahet erupted from the shadows below. The assault was unrelenting. Spider-like Nerubians, twisted arachnid horrors empowered by Xal'atath's void pacts and the black blood of ancient old gods, breached Dalaran's underbelly, webbing civilians and mages alike for capture and experimentation in their subterranean empire. Kirin Tor defenders, Silver Covenant High Elves, and Sunreaver Blood Elves fought valiantly alongside evacuees, with Archmage Salandra mass teleporting survivors to Kraus Landing amid the chaos. Illyria Windrunner and Anduin Wrynn rallied the desperate, clawing through rubble to free the trapped, while Khadgar confronted the imposter at the Violet Citadel's heart. Xal'atath shed her disguise, revealing her true form, as she plunged the Darkheart, the void-corrupted relic from Dragonflight's Nerubar Palace, into Dalaran's ley lines. The city hemorrhaged its arcane essence, fueling the artifact in a supernova of shadow. Khadgar's Atias shattered in futile defiance. The Archmage vanished in a haze of unraveling energy, presumed consumed as Dalaran disintegrated, its fragments raining like shattered stars under the tranquil strand beaches below. Survivors awoke amid arcane radiated wreckage on the Isle of Dorn's southwestern shores. Ozton Isle was strewn with sewer grates and Demon Hunter Hall remnants. The tranquil strand was a graveyard of violet crystals and twisted spires. Earth and Storm Riders from Dornogal aided the dazed mages against the lingering Nerubian scouts, forging uneasy alliances as Horde and Alliance fleets arrived under Thrall and Jaina Proudmoore's command. Rescuers uncovered Aethys Sunreaver and Ritsin Flamescow amid the debris, but losses mounted. Beloved vendors like Brianni and Geppetto Joybuzz were webbed away to Azj-Kahet's labs, their fates entwined with Xal'atath's experiments. Khadgar's absence loomed heaviest. A moment of silence was called in Dornogal's Foundation Hall, where leaders mourned the Strike Force's annihilation. Weeks turned to months. The runes festered with arcane desolation. Wild magic storms birthed anomalies. Trapped mages flickered into stalled portals, and stolen relics, like a catastrophic mana bomb, threatened cataclysm in Nerubian hands. From Dornogal's halls, a recovering Khadgar, freed and weakened from the cracked Darkheart during Illyria's Hallowfall confrontation, was healed by Anduin's rekindled light. Aethys, racked by grief at Tranquil Strand, rallied scattered magi via missives, channeling barriers against radiation while questioning endless cycles of hubris. Jaina portaled to Azj-Kahet to defuse the mana bomb, while Malygos reclaimed kobold-hoarded artifacts during which kel'thuzad's spectral aid escaped a pocket-dimensional puzzle. During a ceremony honoring the fallen, Khadgar, humbled by age and failure, vowed renewal for the area, stating that "We will rebuild, but wiser, never blinded by pride again." With Jaina's resolve, Malygos' draconic insight, and Aethys' blood elf tenacity, the Kirin Tor dissolved the Council of Six, eschewing the floating citadels, political meddling, and frontline valor of scholarly roots. They decentralized research in hidden towers, instead opting to train sharp minds of mages in Stormwind and Silvermoon, advising Earthen and Arathi alike. As always, the weave endures, fractured yet purified, a shadowed sentinel, creativity tempered against void eternals. From Eternity's well to Dorn's glowing scars, mages whisper, power's burden demands humility, lest hubris invite the next fall. From the shattered mystic towers of Old Stormwind to the arcane radiated runes in the Isle of Dorn, the mages of Azeroth have walked a path of unrelenting fire and ice. They rose from the ashes of the Conjurers to turn the tide in the Second War, soared into Northrend skies to slay the Spellweaver himself, stood unbroken in the Hall of the Guardian as the Legion returned, and watched their proudest city fall to Xal'atath's void. Yet even beneath the broken spires of Dalaran, the Kirin Tor endure, humbled, scattered, and finally free of councils and floating citadels, returning to the quiet work of study, training, and counsel. Thank you for walking this long and perilous road with the Mages of Azeroth. If you enjoyed the journey, check out our complete Part 1 video, linked below, and stay tuned for our next Lore Deep Dive series. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so we can explore more of Warcraft's greatest stories together.